Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is the second part of the series, the Tablighi Jamaat. In the first part, the discussion was how this work started in India in the early 1900s and how it spread to different parts of the world. It is important to understand that this work of Tabligh started among the Muslims during the British times. The British had been in power for about 100 years, and they were successful in changing the thinking of the Muslims of India. And they had brought the British educational system, and they were successful to the extent that the Muslims of India forgot the teachings of the Quran and the Hadith. So much so that the educated class of Muslims became convinced that Islam is not suitable for modern times, and in order to make progress, you have to look to other ways to be successful. This was actually shown later on by people like Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who formed a party in the 1960s in which the slogan was that Islam is our religion and socialism is our economic system. So that kind of thinking started seeping into the minds of the Muslims that Islam is not a complete way of life, it's just a private set of beliefs. And Islam is just one of the many religions in the world, and Muslims should just be content with a belief system and not make any effort as was made by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the work of Tabligh was started in this type of environment, in this type of background, where the educated Muslims became convinced that Islam has nothing to do with the affairs of the world. This work of Tabligh tried to make the Muslims understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent prophets for a purpose, to guide mankind to the truth. All the Anbiya came with that purpose, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, being the last prophet, gave the same message to all mankind because he was messenger for all mankind, and his message was for till the end of times. So his work had to be done by his ummah. This was the contribution of the Tablighi Jamaat, to go to the common people and to make them realize that the work of Anbiya has not stopped. The work of Anbiya has to go on till the end of times, and Muslims are responsible for that. So the common person had not heard this. You see, the people who go to the madrasas and who go to these institutions are those people who are interested in learning and teaching. Most of them go there, become teachers, become imams. But the common man in the street has no idea what the Quran is saying or what the Hadith is saying. So Maulana Ilyas's contribution was that he did not wait for people to come to him and to educate them. He actually started a movement where common people would go to other people and invite them to participate, to do the work of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because the work of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is till the end of times. And this was something new among the Muslims. And they started realizing, those people who started participating, that this is not a small mission. This is the mission, this is the job of the Anbiya. One time they used to do this work. And because Anbiya are not going to come, the ordinary people, to the extent that they're able to do it, they were now required, or they were now supposed to do the work of Deen. So this was a very new thing for the Muslims of that time. And slowly and gradually, it started spreading among the general population. And alhamdulillah, it continues to the present day, and this thinking is now all over the world. It's now universal. So the work of Tabligh is among the Muslims to make them realize that just practicing Islam is just one part of it. The other part is to take the message to the people that this is the truth. And one day Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question everybody as to what they did in this life. So this is about the akhirah. This is about the day of judgment where people will be questioned. So one has to understand that in those times, in the British times, the thinking of the people had changed so dramatically that there was no effort on the part of the people, of the ulama, of the scholars, to make the common people understand. They were writing books on Islam, they were making speeches on Islam, but very few people were even aware of what they were doing. So the Tablighi Jamaat started doing the work in the grassroots and started reaching out to all the different sections of the population. And later on, of course, the ulama and then the other parts of the world, the Arabs, in the Arab world, the work started. So this is very important for people to keep in mind that this is not a new effort. This is an effort that was made by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is an effort which was made by the Sahaba. And this is the effort that was made later on by Muslims. And this is how the deen started spreading. As the scholars say, when the prophets call people to Allah, you see, people start following them, and those people who do not follow them or who reject them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroys them through his unseen system. Like he did in the case of Nuh alayhi salam, like he did in the case of Salih alayhi salam and Shuaib alayhi salam. They invited people to Allah. And when the message was rejected, then the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came on those people. So this is why it's very important that people realize that Allah does not punish people until the message has been given. Of course, the purpose is not that people get punished. The purpose is that the message has to be communicated. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants people to know what the message is. You see, the Quran is in the book form and is read by those people who want to read it. But the Quran has to be taken to the people, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took the Quran to the people. And the Sahaba went to the people, and the message was disseminated. So the same way, this ummah has been chosen, and this is what the Tablighi Jamaat keeps stressing, that this ummah has been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to deliver that message to all mankind. And that's why you see Jamaats traveling to all parts of the world, because they consider themselves responsible for delivering the message. And if they do not deliver the message, then the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come on the ummah, just like the prophets were commissioned to do the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So people have to understand, but this understanding or this kind of thinking was changed by the British colonial power, and they established schools and colleges and universities and institutions where this kind of education was not taught. The people who went to these schools, they were learning things about English literature and English history and Western philosophy, and they were becoming very educated in those, and then they were trying to do basically what the British were doing. The British, of course, were there in India to establish their rule, to establish their writ, because they had a different goal in mind. And they were successful in this, that they created a class of people of the same thinking, that they were now the rulers, and they had to keep on establishing the same system and perpetuating that system. Unfortunately, till this present day, we see the results of that education. If you look in countries like Pakistan, where the whole education system is based on that thinking, the judicial system, the economic system, the social system, the whole structure was changed. The Muslims did not convert to Christianity, but their whole thinking was changed to the extent that they started feeling that Islam has nothing to do with worldly affairs. It's a private matter, and people only turn to it when there is a need. If somebody dies, you call the Imam or the Maulvi to read the Quran and to offer Salat al-Janaza, and that was the end of the matter. This is how Islam was practiced, or this is how it was. People were taught to practice Islam. And Islam has nothing to do with the economy, with the political system, the social system, and the people in power were convinced that Islam is an obstacle. Till this day, there's a debate going on whether Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Qaeda Muhammad Ali Jinnah, was wanting an Islamic state or not an Islamic state. There's still people who are trying to convince whether Pakistan was established for Islam. So the British were very successful in dividing the Muslims into different groups, into different types of thinking. And that thinking continues till the present day. So Tablighi Jamaat has worked hard to change that thinking. Tablighi Jamaat works throughout the world to bring the message to the Muslims that the work of Anbiya has to go on till the end of times. The work of Anbiya was to do tabligh, to take the message to the people, to call people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for this purpose, they developed a program, and that program is followed all over the world. Wherever the work is going on, that program is followed, and people who go through the program sincerely and properly, they come back benefiting from that. Unfortunately, a lot of people may be going but not following the program. If they don't follow it the way it should be followed, then they do not benefit from that. So this is like an open university where people can benefit without having to pay any fees. They can go and benefit and learn the teachings of Islam and start practicing and start doing the work. And of course, the work is done locally in the masajids, in the homes. This work is not even dependent on the masjid. This is where the Jamaats used to go. There was no masjid, but so people started doing the work in their homes, in their offices and jobs, because it's a certain way of thinking. And when Muslims understand that they have a responsibility, regardless of their worldly status, whether they are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, once they understand that every single Muslim has been given the responsibility to take whatever message he has learned, to impart that message to the others, then inshallah the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come. Because Allah has promised that those who strive in His path, Allah will help them. Just like Allah helped the Anbiya, He helped the prophets, He helped the Sahaba. When the Ummah stopped doing this work, then the help of Allah was lifted. The help of Allah does not come to people who disobey Allah. We are talking about the Muslims who disobey Allah. The help of Allah is with the Muslims who obey Allah. Allah is not going to help Muslims if they are in disobedience. If Allah starts helping Muslims who are disobeying Allah, then the non-Muslims will have a complaint that these people are just like us, and how is it that these people are being helped? Allah's help is not with disobedience. Sometimes you hear people, making du'as to win a cricket match. Allah didn't send Muslims to make du'as to win cricket matches or to, get importance in worldly affairs. Allah sent Muslims to take the message. Allah's help is with the deen, not with the teams. If the team is Muslim and they are disobeying Allah, then to pray for that team and say that Allah is on the side of the Muslims, that is foolishness. This is the kind of thinking that unfortunately started spreading among the general population. That because they are Muslims, Allah's help will come regardless of what they are doing. Allah's help is conditional, is not unconditional. And this thinking, unfortunately, is still being instilled in the minds of Muslims. So inshallah, in the later programs, in the later parts, there will be a discussion about the program itself, how the Tablighi Jamaat tries to instill the correct Quranic thinking into the minds of the Muslims. Wa akhirat dawana in alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.